Putting down roots means different things to different people. Paul LaJeunesse is here to talk a little bit about what it means to you. You've been in this area for how long?
2.5 years, so this is my third year at St. Scholastica and in Duluth.
You grew up where?
St. Louis, Missouri, the suburbs of St. Louis, about 20 miles out west of it in St. Peters.
And how many postal codes have you had between there and here? When you think about putting down roots, what does that mean to you?
Part of the truth is that you can't find what you're looking for out there. You know, it's an internal thing. But I had something inside me that was just very curious about what else is available, what else is out there. So going back to graduate school, it was with an intention of finding a way to go study abroad and be in another country and really experience that, knowing that not just was my life kind of small and limited, but even being in America was not what I personally needed to try and find out what I valued.
So you end up in Duluth, Minnesota, working on a mural in Lincoln Park. Tell me how that process went.
The mural came as part of the Lincoln Park Craft District and the Duluth Art Institute inaugural Artist in Residence program.
Great.
And I thought making a large mural would have been the kind of perfect inaugural piece, make kind of basically a big billboard for this project for the neighborhood, and very intentionally interview business owners and get imagery and documentation of sort of the history of the place, but also what they were trying to do in that community to kind of revitalize some of definitely the economic part of that neighborhood.
Being a community artist is an amazing way to put down roots, don't you think, as far as being able to make connections with the fabric of a neighborhood?
You're meeting the community, you're engaged with them, it's for them, so it's no longer just sort of this, what do I want to do as an artist, my personal expression, my vision, my philosophy. It's like, well, what are the values of a group of people? What is the community interested in? What do they care about? And you get to kind of be a medium or a voice for that.
Did it also give you roots?
I guess I dodged that, didn't I? Yeah, it got me over to Lincoln Park and in that neighborhood, and I met people, I met business owners, and it became very easy to want to stay. And I was in a time in my life where I'd bounced around and bounced around and bounced around. You get to a point where you're just like, I don't really have it in me to keep moving. And so I was looking for a place to call home. And coming to Duluth, it was just a very easy place where I felt home. It's like, oh, I don't have to keep looking. The next step is like, well, then you do find out more and you dig deep. So instead of like going out, it was going deep into depth and finding out about this place. And I think that is planting roots. I think it's the right metaphor for it.
So here you are at St. Scholastica, and not only making art for you, but you're making artists. How does that feel? How does that fit in what you want to do?
It ends up benefiting me. So what I teach and talk about in the classroom, ironically, I'll go home and look at what I'm making and say, I'm doing the same things wrong that I just told them not to do. It's like, all right. It keeps it fresh in my mind as to what it is we're trying to do and where there are shortcomings.
Where does that sense of community art in your mural experience translate to what maybe art students will encounter in their future, or how to increase the value or the opportunities they may have?
Well, we have a couple of classes where one of the things that we're doing is that there are murals happening in the school. So again, Sarah Brock Erickson's been very instrumental in connecting with community organizations and writing grants and getting funding through ARAC to fund this. So we're connecting our students with other students and then other community members so that they are understanding like this is a path for professional art and art making. We're more interested in talking about options that are available. And public art is definitely a very viable career. And it also teaches for a breadth of interests and abilities as opposed to this sort of honing of your skill to one specific skill set. I'd rather find out what your personality is like and then kind of just open doors or get you exposed to possibilities.
So how about your own art? And has Duluth seeped in there? Do you collect all your experiences?
I only paint loons and the lake and the lift bridge. No, I mean, people do tease me about that because I'm generally a landscape painter. I have some figurative work showing up in there, but 90% of it's landscape. And so people tease like, oh, you're gonna put loons and the lift bridge in there. It's only a matter of time. But I mean, there's no way to deny this sort of kind of majesty. It's humble, but it's mountainous. Like it still has it, and then just the giant lake and sort of the power of the lake and the weather changes. And I was amazed at how much kind of white water and fresh water is coming down through the Iron Range into the lake. So you have all these beautiful streams and rivers that are kind of rushing all the time. And there are certain spots where it sort of felt like I was in the Smoky Mountains or, like in that kind of environment. Like this is really mountainous. All that's showing up in the work now. And I'm just gonna set it on here and kind of rock it back and forth.
As an artist in an arts community, how important is it to have people add their interests to the conversation?
Yeah, I think it's similar to any other community. Like if it stagnates and you don't get outside influence in some capacity, it becomes insular and decision making, regardless of what it is, like what's good for the community. It's like, well, you have to be out there and what is your community? For a lot of communities, there's a shift towards the work getting out of galleries and getting out of New York, LA, Chicago, whatever, and being about like, we're gonna make something for our town, and they can get money to fund a larger project that then people could use, be it a bus stops. You're seeing a lot of these where like they're fixing up and making really interesting bus stops. And so like, this is the thing people use, let's make it functional, but also make it to where people want to be part of it and like make our town interesting.
So is this part of putting down roots for you?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like I wouldn't want to do that as a, kind of a hired gun somewhere else, come in and say, well, here's how you should. It makes no sense because you don't live there.
So what is the role of art today and maybe tomorrow
Oh my God.
in our city? Yeah.
In this city. I mean, I personally would like there to be a larger impact of public art, and I've been recently accepted to the Duluth Public Arts Commission. You want it to be that gets the ball rolling, where like we make a few things, and then immediately the idea is that you say, well, look what we're doing, and you start to invite other people. Because again, you don't want it to be insular and just your ideas, because somebody else is going to come in with brand new ideas, especially if they're coming from a very different demographic and a very different environment, different, big urban southern city or rural California farming community. It's just going to be different. It's only going to help.
It helps. Thank you for choosing our community.
Oh, happy to be here. It's home.